So then cleanup began. But they didn't even know what there was. I mean, it was just such a massive, all of their efforts would have been focused on production. Uh, Engineers had ideas for cleanup, but they weren't funded because all of the funding was for production. Um, they didn't even know what there was. Because back in the day, there were very few environmental regulations, even for regular industry, and the few that were out there didn't have any authority on military sites, and so they didn't keep very many records. And a lot of times they just didn't know what was in the tanks or what they were pumping out. They just pumped it and threw it in the tanks, and they'd leak or whatever, so they'd pump it into other tanks and other mixtures, and then the radiation stuff would mutate. And they weren't meant to be there that long. And so over time, and uh, those are just in tanks, and there were other dump sites that were just they just dumped stuff out in the desert, and not telling anyone that they dumped anything there. They could have just said, "Hey, we were in a hurry, we had to get this out, we dumped something there, don't step there, don't drive there," but they didn't. So, Westinghouse Hanford Company had identified over like 2,000 waste dump sites over the 500 some odd square miles of the original Hanford boundaries. Um, I'm guessing that's anywhere from a Coca-Cola store or an antifreeze spill to a freight train that was buried to a fleet of dump trucks that had payloads that were just buried that they identified by satellite. Just all kinds of stuff. There was a speedboat that someone had a worker had gotten radiation on his shoes and they hadn't caught it on the radiation gauges going out, and he went boating for the weekend with his buddies, and so it got radiation on the boat. The government bought the boat, buried the boat. Here's Duty. So they got a buried boat, buried freight train, buried dump trucks. They buried jeeps and stuff like that because they just didn't know what else to do with them. Those are verified things that I've heard that plausible. I've heard on tours from credible sources. And so Westinghouse Hanford Company, their main accomplishment was just to find out what was there and rope it off. Start taking samples of the tanks, try to figure out what was in them. The 177 tanks with 55 million gallons of high-level radioactive plutonium wastes. Some were rusting, some were leaking, some were single-shelled, some were double-shelled. There was just a lot of the buildings were leaking. These are facilities that, there was just all kinds of, just stuff. This place has been going full blast for decades. And they had, cleanup wasn't really priority. And now it was. But they really didn't know where to start. So identification, mapping out where the spills were, what they were, was the main project of when I was there. And, big project.